What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzetta. Yes, for the people not on the podcast, for the people watching, I am home. I am back home. The home set. Still got to build a new one, but still I'm home. No more asbestos in the house, so that's good. It feels good to be home. PJ asked me before, hey, how you doing? Normally when people ask that question, it's just, good, and just move on. But sometimes I like to be really, really honest with people, like over the top honest, because often we're not. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I am fantastic because I am home. And I'm home watching Nick Sirianni do his press conference. I'm watching Brandon Graham do his media session yesterday, as well as Jason Kelce, a lot of Eagles players addressing the media. And we'll get into what Nick Sirianni had to say about his message to the team. And what continues to impress him about Jalen Hurts is what has impressed me so much about Jalen Hurts. And it was Ruben Frank that asked the question yesterday of NBC Sports Philly, saying he's only 24 years old. He's only 24 years old. And I think the best way to describe Jalen Hurts, to really try to, somebody who hasn't watched him a lot, someone who's only caught some highlights and maybe read about him, I guess, to really describe his mindset and personality, I think it really can be summed up with a little piece of information that he let loose earlier in the year, which is he loves Anita Baker. I think that right there sums up the personality of Jalen. He is wise beyond his years. He is an old soul. So whether he's 24 years old or not, this guy has the laser focus, the commitment, the attitude of someone, who's far beyond even the age I was going to throw out there, which was like 30. But the guy just has it right between the ears. He has it good between the ears. That is what separates him from most 24-year-olds, to say the least. So when we get into this conversation with Nick Sirianni had to say about him, it really has been what has impressed me the most about Jalen Hurts all season long. And it really is everything you see on the field is the product of what is between the ears of Jalen Hurts. It's that mindset. It's that attitude. It's that dedication. It's that commitment. And Nick Sirianni gets into it to a point of where it's like almost, I hate to say it's not impressed by it anymore, but it's just what he's come to expect from his 24-year-old MVP candidate quarterback who just completed his second year as a starter. We'll get into that conversation. And LeBron James. LeBron James needed 36 points last night to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And you know what he did? He scored 38 points for the Lakers to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. We'll get into my reaction to that. Also, Seamus Clancy joins us from PhillyVoice.com. He is in Arizona right now, so he gives us all the takes when it comes to Arizona, when it comes to the vibe out there, when it comes to the influx of Eagles fans, as one would expect out there. And he tells a story just about, people talk about a dry heat, out there in the desert, and hot is hot. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. I wasn't expecting him to tell us what he told us, but then come to think about it, I've been to Arizona for a Super Bowl, and yeah, it was pretty chilly, actually, now that I look back on it. So we'll get into that conversation. Let's start it off with this, though, because it is the biggest topic here in Philadelphia. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. We'll get into LeBron James in a second. But yesterday, I really am curious to see how this team that has been so great throughout the year handles this week. And really, I mean, we knew they were home. We knew they were going through all the normal things last week. But this week, I am just curious to see how they handle it. And I have no doubt that they're going to handle it with flying colors. They have enough experience on the roster. They certainly have enough experience in the front office to deal with a Super Bowl week. All right, this shouldn't be a huge shock to the system for a lot of these Eagles players. They know what to expect. Even the guys that haven't been there before have at least talked to the guys that have been there before, and they're having these conversations, and they know how to prep. They know how to mentally prepare themselves for this week. So, but I am curious just to watch them go through it. Nick Sirianni, and I believe it was Sal Palantonio threw out the question, and Sal always goes for this question, and it always gets a good response. Basically, what's the message to the team? And a lot of times, Nick Sirianni will say, I'm going to keep that in-house. This time around, it wasn't in-house. Here's Nick Sirianni on how he is keeping his team focused and making sure they are staying the path during Super Bowl week.
Through the same routine that we go through, whether if we're at Novacare. So that was the big part of it, was just talking about the distractions that are here, that can be here, how it's a little bit different, and how we just need to go about our business like we have been for the past 20 weeks.
He went on to talk about how you got to look at it like it's a foul shot. And I love the analogies he gets into every once in a while, but he talks about how it's like a foul shot. All right, in an away building. Okay, you might have the thunder sticks going behind the rim. All right, you might have the crowd going crazy. They might even get a Frosty or nowadays some free chicken out of it. You missing your foul shot, so everyone wants to see you miss. But you know what you have to do in those different circumstances, in that different environment with that different attention on you? You know what you got to do? You got to step to the line. You got to take your 3 dribbles. You got to take a breath, and you got to let it rip. You get into your rhythm. You get into your routine. And muscle memory will more or less take over. And that's where the Eagles are right now. They're stepping to the foul line. There's a lot of noise going on around them. And I think Nick Sirianni hit it out of the park. He's another sports analogy when it came to prepping his team for this week. A lot of BS is going to be flying around you. You dealt with a lot of the same thing throughout the season, with everyone talking about how you're not good enough and you haven't beaten anybody. Will they stay undefeated? Will they actually play a team and actually have success against a team that's a winning team? And yeah, they only did that 6 times when you talk about teams that they were 6-0 against and that were playoff teams. Not too shabby. Haven't beaten anybody. But you've been through a lot of the same stuff this year. Now it's just going to be louder. Now it's just going to be more common. But that just means you have to deal with it the same way. Eagles step to the foul line. Eagles take their 3 dribbles. Eagles take a breath, and then they let it rip on Sunday against the Chiefs. Nothing else changes. You step on that football field, it's all the same oat bag. All right? Now, the leader of all that, of course, is Jalen Hurts. And with Jalen Hurts, every time he's addressed the media, he has just been focused on the opponent, even to the point where he has shamed the media for not asking him about that week's opponent. The first example of it was against the Chicago Bears, and we all know how that one ended, unfortunately. But it ended fortunate for the fact that the Eagles still got the win. But he wasn't asked about that Bears defense and called the media out on it. That's how focused he is on his opponent. That's how focused he is on the task at hand, winning, beating whoever is in front of him, just like the schedule dictates. Well, now it's a pretty damn good opponent across the way. Now there's a lot being made of this quarterback matchup, not just because of their race, which I do think is a huge storyline and a huge factor. And I've had plenty of conversations about how important that is. That for a long time, black quarterbacks weren't looked at as possible leaders on teams. Now you have 2 of them facing off in the Super Bowl. That is incredible. But also for the fact that you're also looking at 2 MVP candidates, guys that are 1 and 1A in the MVP race this season. And they're going at it on Sunday. Is any of this a distraction to Jalen Hurts? So when Nick Sirianni was asked about this guy just having a locked-in, laser focus really throughout his career to this point, in the 2 years he's been a starter, and the 1 year he came off the bench to help out, try to help Carson Wentz and the Eagles at that time, he has just maintained that same focus. Here's Nick Sirianni on his quarterback being wise beyond his years, beyond his age of 24.
Yeah, I think that's just who he is, regardless of his age. That's just who he is as a competitor, as a player. I guess it's rare in the fact, I mean, I see it every day. I witness it every day of him, just not being caught up in any moment. And that speaks to who he is, how he was raised, and that, he's steady. And so it's impressive to see, but that's what I'm accustomed to now with Jalen, and he's the same guy every day.
I'm just used to it. That's just who he is. Another analogy is you talk about the boiling water, right? The boiling water. Boiling water is when you can take an egg and put it in that boiling water. It makes the egg hard. You take a potato, you put it in the boiling water, makes it soft. No matter what the environment is, don't let it change you. That's the point of that analogy. Jalen Hurts, you put him in boiling water, yeah, he'll control everything else. Maybe I'll be hard today. Maybe I'll be soft today. I'm not going to let the environment dictate who I am and what I am. So you put him in the Super Bowl. It's the same routine throughout the entire week. And it's another step forward for me in my confidence level. I did another 2 interviews yesterday where I was getting interviewed this time around. And it was the same thing where the interviewer was asking me, I feel confident about this. And it got into the sheepishly confident conversation we were having with Ray Dininger yesterday. Sheepishly confident in the fact that the Eagles will win this game. And this person was a lot more confident than I was, man. They were off the charts confident. And I was like, yeah, I still see the Eagles. They can win this game by a touchdown. I think you could get into the 30s with both teams as we go on. Like Ray Dininger yesterday was 31-24. I could definitely see that. I could also see a 38-31 victory for the Eagles or a 38-28 victory for the Eagles. And then I'm starting to hear more and more people start to get on that train in terms of this being such a high-scoring game. And then it has me thinking, okay, we're all thinking this, so that means it's going to be 17-14 Eagles, and they win on a Jake Elliott field goal. Like it's going to be a defensive battle. I still don't think that's going to happen with these quarterbacks. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to be a high-scoring affair. But a lot of people are starting to really pound that over. So I took another step yesterday. And when I heard Ray go 31-24, I started to think maybe this does go in the direction of a 38-31. Maybe the Eagles go into that 35 range. Maybe it's a 35-28 Eagles victory. I don't think this turns into a defensive battle. If it does, man, that really means I think Hassan Reddick is getting after it. I think that really means that Josh Sweat is getting after it. I think that really means that Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox and Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph in the middle of the line of scrimmage and Jordan Davis in the middle of that line of scrimmage, they're eating. They are getting after it in that game. And unfortunately, I think it also means turnovers. Ugh. Could go both ways in that regard. If you go by the books, the Eagles probably forcing the turnovers. But man, this week has just taken forever. And not just for personal reasons, because I haven't been home. It's just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. Is it Sunday yet? No? Okay. LeBron James. I really respect LeBron James' career. He's one of the greatest basketball players I've ever seen. In terms of full careers that I've been able to witness, I go Jordan, I go Kobe, I go LeBron. And what LeBron James has done is worth every ounce of respect and admiration that he should get. I know a lot of people will try to discredit it because of the three-point shot has become so prevalent, and it was a hell of a lot more prevalent nowadays than it was ever even thought about it when Kareem was playing. But man, oh man, to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, regardless of circumstance, is pretty damn impressive. And I know there's haters out there that are going to take away from it. The guy started playing 19 years old. He's 38 now. Had all the pressure in the world on him when he came into the league about him being the next Jordan and all that stuff. And I remember when he took the Cavs to the finals and they got swept out by the Spurs. That was pretty damn impressive. And I remember thinking, if anyone was going to be better than Jordan, this is how it would start. And he has been incredible throughout his career. And I love watching that guy play basketball. And it has been a joy to watch him come into the league and become what he is now. The NBA's all-time leading scorer. One thing I'm going to take exception to. I've been hearing, and I think Adam Silver even said it last night when he became the all-time leading scorer. He said a record that a lot of people thought would never be broken. And I'm like, who the hell thought that would never be broken? It's like I liken it to passing records in the NFL. The game has become, and Trent Dilfer took this point. Wow, this is 2 days in a row. I think I'm mentioning Trent Dilfer. Never thought that would happen. Trent Dilfer started talking about Tom Brady and all his records and Aaron Rodgers and all that, and how it's not impressive because of the way the league is now and how they protect quarterbacks and how it's just a much different league. Pass interference calls and all that stuff is so different than what it was when he played. Hitting the quarterback is different than when he played. And he's right, but I think he took it a little too far in the idea that it's not impressive. It's still pretty damn impressive. But anyway, plus Tom Brady played long enough where he played part of that era as well and was still winning Super Bowls. So anyway, I digress. But I liken the change in scoring in the NBA with the change in scoring in the NFL, where they have made it a lot easier to score points. And in the NBA, it has become so predicated on the three-point shot that, of course, that record was going to be broken. And of course, it would be broken. Like LeBron was probably going to break that. I mean, you go back a couple of years. You go back 4 years. LeBron James really throughout his career had averaged about 4 3-point shots per game, 3 to 4 per game. Liken that to someone like Michael Jordan, for instance, who throughout his career, he was averaging 1.7 3-point attempts for the career. So you're looking just on average, leading up to 5 years ago, LeBron James was taking about 3 more shots per game from beyond the arc than Michael Jordan, just for reference. But then you go back 5 years and you see the numbers jump for LeBron James where he's starting to take 5, 6, 7 3-pointers a game. Started to take that amount of attempts. And that's where you see he passes Michael Jordan with taking however many less shots it was. That is impressive. That does matter. But it also tells you the way that the game has changed. Like, I grew up in the era of guys driving to the basket, trying to get the N1, get the other team in foul trouble, you get points. I still love that version of basketball a lot more than the 3-point version of basketball that we watch so often today. And LeBron can do both. I'm not saying he only shoots threes. Of course not. It's stupid. But in terms of the idea of Kareem's record never being broken, I think, once you saw the Warriors really leading the charge with the amount of 3-point shots they were taking, and the rest of the league start to catch up with that style of play, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We're all professionals here. If I shoot 7 of these, I'm going to make 3. If I shoot 7 of these, I'm going to hit 2. I'm going to make shots. And that's the way the game has evolved. And that's how you have guys like LeBron James really taking that leap forward in the last 5-6 years with the 3-point shot. So when it comes to the idea of it never being broken, I'm like, who didn't think it was going to be broken? I think it's going to be broken. And yeah, LeBron's going to break it. As far as him being the one to break it, I'm fine with that. I'm happy for him. It's an incredible thing. He's had an incredible career. I know there's a lot of haters. I hated when he left Cleveland. I hated that he went to Dwayne Wade's Miami Heat. I didn't like it. I wanted to see him do it in Cleveland. He eventually did do it in Cleveland. We've seen him lose a lot of NBA finals. I know a lot of haters will bring that up as well. But I don't think he can shortchange the guy for being the NBA's all-time leading scorer. I think it's a pretty impressive thing. And it was funny last night that he got the record with 10 seconds left in the game, and Kareem was out there. And I was thinking to myself, is he going to get this? I think he's going to get this. Is he going to get it? Oh, Kareem, come back another night, pal, because it might not happen. And then he had the fadeaway, and he knocked it down. I give him all the credit in the world. They had a nice exchange at midcourt after the game with Kareem giving LeBron the basketball. It was a beautiful thing. And I know a lot of people will talk about disrespect and all that stuff. You know who gets disrespected? Kareem. Kareem gets disrespected. Especially when you think about the idea, you're talking about 3-point shots. Oh, yeah, this guy wasn't taking 3-point shots. Kareem was sky hooks and foul shots. All right? That's how he got to be the NBA's all-time leading scorer. He inched his way towards that. But you're also talking about, a 5-time MVP for Kareem? You're talking about a 6-time champion? And we never talk about this guy. And for, 34 years, the all-time leading scorer in the NBA? That's pretty impressive. And we never talk about him as the greatest ever. 2 reasons why I think that is. One is because we don't talk about him. When we talk about him, we talk about Showtime Lakers. We talk about all the times, his career with the Lakers. We don't really get into him with the Bucks, for instance. But we also talk about the great teams that he played on. Oh, so that great. Magic was always there, right? That kind of thing. Yeah, Magic was pretty good. But Kareem was pretty damn good too. And you talk about, the MVPs. You talk about all the stuff that he was able to accomplish in his career. I just want to make sure I get the numbers right there. 19-time All-Star. It is wild to think that he was only a 2-time scoring champ. It's wild to think that. 6-time NBA champion. 11-time all-defensive team, 6-time MVP. Excuse me, not 5. That was the number I wanted to make sure I checked. So you're looking at that in a 2-time finals MVP. He never gets, you want to talk about disrespect? Kareem gets disrespected. The other reason is because he's a center. And whenever we look at a center, I think it's just in our mind, it's like, well, he's tall, so he's just going to be good. It's like a grade school mindset that people don't change. Kareem deserves some damn respect. LeBron thinks he gets shortchanged. How about Kareem is one of the greatest ever? Come on. Let me tell you about Steven Singer, the greatest ever. The all-time GOAT of jewelry and diamonds. Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Go to the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Check out my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Valentine's Day just around the corner. So make sure you check it out. Steven Singer Jewelers. They are home of the perfect price each and every day online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let's jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, talk to our friend Seamus Clancy of Philly Voice about all things Eagle. Oh, and we got a little Sixers conversation, trade deadline coming around the corner here. Seamus Clancy, PhillyVoice.com. Right now, the Rothman Orthopedics guest line from PhillyVoice.com. The great Seamus Clancy joins us. Seamus, all the way, by the way, from Arizona. How is it out there, my friend?
Walked outside. It was 42 degrees this morning. It is definitely a different 42 degrees than the one you experienced in Philadelphia. I was wearing just a nice short sleeve button down shirt. Felt like a beautiful spring day in Philadelphia by comparison. So
that's
living up. I saw the sun today. That's always a positive.
You reintroduced yourself to the beautiful rays of sunshine. I'm sure. I have to ask this. As far as setting the scene for us, what can you do? I know it's difficult because it's the Super Bowl and everything's going on. It's the center of the sports world right now. But can you set the scene for Eagles fans back east right now?
Sure. So last night, Monday night, was Super Bowl opening night, the big media night festivities. And walking out, it was in the Phoenix Suns Arena, was where it was held in downtown Phoenix, pretty close to the Super Bowl fan experience center at the Phoenix Convention Center. And walking out there felt like you were walking out in the middle of a WWE match with the fanfare from the crowd, from the stage, from the players. And then you see the Kelce brothers, who are destined for a career, whether they're with WWE or Hollywood or whatever they want to do. It felt theatrical. But if you were an Eagles fan in the crowd, and I don't know if Chiefs fans have any chants, have any songs, but all I heard all night, besides, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox over the PA system, were EAGLES chants.
Wow. Is it? Can we say it already? Is it pretty much a Philly takeover in Phoenix?
I'm not quite there yet. I don't want to get fans back home too excited. I won't get there yet. I am someone who is a pessimist when it comes to Super Bowl crowds, thinking that it is overtly a corporate environment, especially when you see the exorbitant ticket prices you see on the secondary market. I think Ticket IQ, that website, that app, did a tweet today. They were like, for the first time, tickets have fallen below $5,000. I was like, great, below $5,000. Now the average fan from Bucks County, from South Philly,
Exactly. That's it. Now, if they get the $4,000, I'm telling you, I'm buying you and myself a ticket. We're going out there.
With the $3,000 with a flight and a couple nights of hotel rooms downtown or in Glendale by the stadium, I'm sure that'll get you set.
Absolutely. There is a place, I do have to tell you, if you're at Westgate at all, I know you would never think of this because it's a desert, but there's a place called Hot and Juicy. Okay? Hot and Juicy. And what they do is they serve you a bag of steamed seafood, a bag of it, my friend. I still think about that meal. It's one of the few meals that when I was traveling a lot, I still think about to this day. Is like, oh, wow, where did I get that great seafood dinner? Oh, that's right, desert. But it was, I kid you not, it was fantastic.
In Phoenix?
It was in Westgate, which is by the stadium in Glendale. Yeah, it's
in Glendale this morning, yeah.
Okay. How do you think, as far as the media night festivities and all that stuff, how do you think Nick Sirianni handled his first media night? How do you think the Kelce Bowl, Jason, of course, is not his first, but obviously a lot of fanfare, as you mentioned earlier, surrounding him and his brother with the storylines galore. They're one of them, of course. But how did Nick, you think, handle that spotlight?
I thought it kind of went viral. The one question from some reporter asked Nick Sirianni, what player on the team wouldn't you want your daughter to date? Nick Sirianni replied, his daughter is 5 years old. And I don't care if Nick Sirianni's daughter was 5 years old, 4 years old, or 35 years old. Just an inappropriate question. I think that has unfortunately become par for the course with these media night things. I don't know who's doing the credentials. I don't know who's doing the screening. If I got in, I feel like a lot of people, different people can get in. I'll say that. But I think he handled it well. I spoke to him, or I should say that he spoke to the media at the Eagles Hotel on Tuesday afternoon. Some Eagles players spoke afterwards, but he seemed like he has all season, a quiet confidence to him, but also just an energetic guy who spreads good vibes. If you're an Eagles fan at home, the energy in this locker room, this energy around this team is the same it has been all season. And I think it's starts with Jalen Hurts, the team leader, the quarterback, cool, calm, and confident. It permeates through the locker room. And then when you take into consideration the 4 starters remaining on this team that were on the 2017 team, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, they also had to tone in. That nucleus together, winning combination.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Absolutely. And, to just touch on some of the things Nick Sirianni got into during his press conference, not media night, but his press conference you just alluded to, was the foul shot reference he made. He's like, hey, when you get to the foul line, even if the crowd's going nuts, 3 dribbles, breathe, and you let it rip. And I thought that was a great analogy for Super Bowl week. There's going to be a lot of distractions, a lot of different directions you're being pulled in. Still got to focus and do the job. And I think that's one thing that the Eagles have done all season long. Even when they were perfect, they found a way, Seamus, to keep their eye on the prize.
Yeah, being in the locker room at Lincoln Financial Field after the NFC Championship game, besides some of the cigar smoke and the smell in the locker room, felt like I was walking into Ashton Cigar Bar downtown. The atmosphere was excited and happy, but compared to an average team, look, I haven't been around NFL locker rooms for a while. I haven't been around any outside of Philadelphia. But I have to imagine that generally they'd be a little bit more amped. I don't know if it's the equivalent of the MLB where after every round there are people popping champagne if you win the wild card round, divisional round, LCS, the way we saw the Phillies doing all fall. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I think it speaks to the quality of players. And I mean that not just as people, but as players and where they've been. Again, I mentioned that core 4, so to speak, with Kelce, Lane, BG, and Fletch, but the way this organization has changed in terms of their roster building construction with Howie Roseman the last couple of years, they've gone after players who've been at big programs, successful programs, guys who've won national championships. We have guys like Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Davis. These guys have won an innumerable amount of conference titles, of bowl games, but that doesn't really matter. If you're on a Nick Saban team, winning the SEC isn't the end game, right? Winning the NFC Championship game now isn't the end game for any of these guys. They won it all.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you, it's the biggest question you could ask anybody this week. How are you feeling about the Birds on Sunday?
I've talked to some fans over the last week or so. Last week, the bye week.
All right.
And there's this confidence, but it also seems like they're uncomfortable with their confidence, right? And I think that was the case going into the NFC Championship game too, where talking to my friends, people I grew up with, fans and friends in the media and stuff like that, it seems like easily the Eagles will win, but I'm so confident. I wonder if we're on the boomerang here, right? I think like what I was saying to some media members in the Eagles press box on Sunday for the NFC Championship game 2 Sundays ago was, I assume I was young and watching on TV, but I feel like people must have been very confident going into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game in 2002, the Carolina Panthers game in 2003, and we saw how those turned out. But man, this Eagles team's different. The 2017 team will always be special rather than dominant, right. I would say, because it's the first time. How unlikely it was. The expectations going to the playoffs were infinitely lower than they were this year. But sometimes your team you're watching, whether you're a fan, team you're covering, if you're a media member, just beats up on the other team. And they're probably the team that has the best offensive line and the best defensive line in football. When you combine those with a sound, respectful coaching staff and a quarterback that has leadership like this, an offense that's versatile like this in both in passing and running game, an offense that really, did it really play that well? Did the offense really play that well against in the NFC Championship with the 49ers? I don't really think so. I don't think they played to their capabilities. What happened? They put up 31 points on the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. What does that tell you for their ultimate potential? And while I'm not saying this is a 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers beatdown, a 2013 Seattle Seahawks beatdown, I could see the Eagles winning by 2 touchdowns.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's an easy cover right there. And I think we've coined a new phrase in Philadelphia this week. And you alluded to it with your friends. It's kind of this cautious optimism. For me, it feels more like sheepish optimism. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, sheepish confidence is a phrase that jumps to mind when I think about people's predictions for this game in the Philadelphia area, in the Delaware Valley. People are looking at, like, when I talk to people in the same way that you do, it's the same response from them. It's like, I feel good. It's like they're questioning, because it's Patrick Mahomes, because it's all that experience on that side of the football, that you look in the mirror and you go, wait a minute, should I really be this confident? But I think when it comes to overall better club, like, even the quarterback spot is close, but overall better club, it comes to the Eagles. And I think, I don't know, agree or disagree, maybe you have a different opinion on it, but I think far and away, it's just the Eagles defense is so much better than the Kansas City Chiefs defense.
Yeah, and speaking towards Eagles fans, I think other than one specific season, they've been burned so many times in their life, right? And it's weird to be the favorite. When they won in 2017, as I alluded to, it's unpredictable. It was improbable. It was magical. It was special. It was the Philly special. Whereas this is what expected. This was, Doug Peterson was way too early on saying this is the new normal. This is what it's supposed to be. If you're a dominant team, if you are the New England Patriots, if you're the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s, and way getting ahead of it. Not saying this is a dynasty or anything along those lines, but sometimes, again, 2013 Seahawks, sometimes your team is just dominant. You have a well-coached team. You have a great young quarterback and an elite defense. And I don't care if you're going against Peyton Manning that year as the MVP. I don't care if you're going to Patrick Mahomes MVP this year. Sometimes just a well-rounded, well-oiled machine gets it done.
Mm-hmm. Is there I've been asking everybody this question. Was there a moment where you thought this team was going to do something special? The 2017 team had the clear-cut Jake Elliott field goal. It was incredible. Was there a moment like that for you this year where you looked at this team and went, oh, wow, this could really be the real deal?
Yeah, so week one, the Eagles squeak out a win against the Lions. I think most fans were expecting a bigger beatdown given where the Lions have been the last couple of years, and they were a surprise team, right? They finished 9-8, I believe. They were on the cusp of the playoffs, didn't make it, but they were one of the feel-good stories in the NFL. So no one knew that in week one. So when they give up, 30-some-odd points to Detroit, and the offense looks good, the defense doesn't look good, Devontae Smith doesn't have any catches, people are freaking out a little bit. And going to that Minnesota game in week two, it's a Monday Night Football game. People were really worried about the defense. People were calling for Jonathan Gannon's job, and maybe they still are. I've become a Gannon truther this season. Just look at the results. People complain this guy isn't aggressive enough. This guy doesn't blitz enough. They had more sacks than any team in the history of organized football, except one. When they went out there, they destroyed the Minnesota Vikings in week two, a team that hasn't really found playoff success, consistently a really good regular season team, a well-coached team, typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they just demolished them defensively with this physical attack. And while that 2017 defense was great, this team is more physical and more talented, more well-rounded. Mm-hmm. But offensively, they were great too. Jalen Hurts, everyone said last couple of years, head up, the perfect quarterback, but mechanics, accuracy, arm strength, those were all the worries for people. Now, I always thought I was a guy who, while when they drafted Jalen Hurts, it was, like most people, a WTF move, WTF energy. But early on, it seemed like in 2020, the guy had a moxie to him that had been missing with the Eagles organization. He goes out there, he has that, 50, 60-yard pass to Quez Watkins for a touchdown. A.J. Brown looks great. Week 3, Devontae Smith has 169 yards against the Commanders, has a couple of the greatest catches I've seen in the regular season for an Eagles player. Once you saw that this offense wasn't going to be held back by Jalen Hurts in the passing game the way it might have been in 2021, but it was going to be augmented by him, it was going to be better, not just in spite of him or with him. They are not winning with Jalen Hurts this year. They were ultimately winning because of Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm.
No, I would 1,000% agree with that. Where were you on the Jalen Hurts conversation going into this season? Were you he deserves one more year? Were you he's definitely going to be the guy? Like, where were you on Jalen Hurts going into the season?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily think they needed him. I didn't want a Deshaun Watson move. I thought that was bad for the city, bad for the vibes, for a list of reasons. Russell Wilson, he's a guy I've loved watching his entire career. I thought I was bullish on the Russell Wilson move. But even going into 2021, when people wanted to trade up for Zach Wilson, trade up for Justin Fields, I was ready to ride with Jalen Hurts. I don't think this is retrospective or retroactive. I remember I was writing for Bleeding Green Nation for a while before my Philly Voice days, and early in Hurts' rookie season after he took over. He had some really good statistical games against the Saints. He rushes for over 100 yards in his first start, wins that game. They play against the Cardinals, and coincidentally, Arizona throws, I think, 3 touchdown passes, rushes for another touchdown. Great statistical game, even though the Eagles lose, and did a mailbag. And someone asked me, what's Jalen Hurts' ceiling? I'm like, look, if you're going to old takes expose me in 5 years, fine. But his ceiling to me is Russell Wilson. And I think that, again, you could go look it up. I hedged, I'm sure. I said, hey, you're asking me right now, what do I think this guy's ceiling is from what I've seen him in 2 NFL starts?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think it was. And it was because of more so intangibles level than just pure talent, pure arm strength, everything like that. I think that goes back to the 2013 Seahawks comparison that I made. I think that's the best team in. Look at the modern NFL, the NFL, because of from like 2011 on, that's when passing offenses became what they are now. A couple really historic teams that year between Green Bay, New Orleans, New England, and the new CBA that's been in effect since then, rookie scale contracts and everything like that. That Seattle team's the best I've seen in this era. And this Eagles team really reminds me of that. Skill, talent on offense, really well coached, young quarterback that people rally around, and a defense that's ferocious. So right now, 2022, 2023 / Jalen Hurts reminds me of 2012, 2013, 2014 Russell Wilson.
That's a phenomenal comparison. And just off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, the Seahawks signed Matt Flynn, I believe, that offseason after he had
like 20 or 30 mil guaranteed. They draft Russ in the 3rd round or 2nd round, 3rd round.
3rd round, same round, same year as Nick Foles.
Yep, yeah. And the Eagles, obviously, the infamous story, the Eagles one of them, and they took, Vinny Curry over him, and then they thought they were going to take him later. They thought they'd get him, and they get Foles, and in the end, it's a wash, right? You get the Foles story, he leaves, comes back, but he doesn't come back if he wasn't here for the begin with. So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the same way you might have thought, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts here to be backup. You might have signed Matt Flynn and you got Russell Wilson to be backup. Nothing in Russell Wilson's demeanor, his energy, his leadership ever had the makings of a backup quarterback. And you saw that. Obviously, Broncos country, let's ride is a disaster over the last 12 months or so. But it rings true for Jalen Hurts, I believe.
Mm-hmm. No, I would absolutely agree with that. All right. You said you could see the Eagles winning by 2 touchdowns. You could see it happening that way. How do you see it playing out? What is your official prediction as of right now as we tape this on whatever the heck it is, Tuesday night going into Wednesday? What are you seeing?
I tweeted it last week. It'll be in Philly Voice's staff writers prediction roundup later this week.
Okay.
Hitting the over hard. Eagles
love it.
38, Chiefs 23.
Oh my goodness. I welcome it with open arms. That would be the definition of Jalen Hurts to the rest of the league if he doesn't win MVP, which he probably won't, in terms of the regular season, might be Super Bowl MVP. That would be announcing his presence with authority to the rest of the NFL, is stomping like that on Andy Reid and, of course, Patrick Mahomes. That would be something else, man. Before I let you go, I got one more question for you because I know you're a man for all seasons. Do the Sixers make a significant move at the trade deadline? Do you see them bringing in anybody of note?
I think they shed salary. It's unsexy. It's not what fans want, but I think, look, I'm never going to be in owners' pockets and say, no, this guy that's a billionaire should save a bunch of money. But I think there are longer-term salary cap ramifications that I not necessarily agree with. I understand. I don't think there are going to be any big moves. There's no Tyrese Maxey for Kevin Durant up Daryl Morey's sleeves. But ideally, if you're a Sixers fan, maybe they dump Thibault and Korkmaz, shed some salary, and ideally can bring up we're in year what of the Embiid era. It's the trade deadline. Can they get a backup center for Joel Embiid? I've been asking this since I started blogging in my Sixers days in my youth, in my younger years, and it's still going on now. So hopes for the Sixers fans, stay steady. I thought I was burned out on the Sixers after umpteen second-round exits, but they played really strong over the last couple of months. Respect them. James Harden has played his best basketball as a Sixer over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. Get a little backup center help. We're not asking for Hakeem Olajuwon to be Joel Embiid's backup center. We're not even asking for if someone who was just slightly below average. It's such an infinite step up.
Nerlens Noel, Andre Drummond, any of that?
Yeah, Andre Drummond was the best backup center Joel Embiid's ever had. And
I
he wasn't
agree.
in the playoffs, right? They trade him in the James Harden trade. And look, if you get James Harden, you get James friggin' Harden. But you can't have Greg Monroe in the Raptors series, whatever he was, a minus 14 and 15 seconds on the court. Philadelphia is just asking for baseline competency when it comes to Joel Embiid's backup.
That's all we're asking for.
The two worst people to be in the city, the two most maligned people, are Joel Embiid's backup center and the Eagles' defensive coordinator.
That's so true.
Yes.
That is a phenomenal comparison as well. Seamus, great catching up as always. Safe travels to you. Enjoy your time out there in Arizona and the balmy 42 degrees you get to enjoy out there as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. The great Seamus Clancy joining us from PhillyVoice.com. My thanks to Seamus Clancy joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line from Philly Voice, enjoying all that Arizona has to offer. It is different. You might have heard it in your life, oh, it's a dry heat or something like that, or, 46 degrees, whatever you said it was out there. And it was just like, this is nice. It's a different animal out there, man. Love Arizona. But yes, Hot and Juicy is the name of that seafood place. My buddy and I it was after the Super Bowl. It was after Patriots Seahawks. They don't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the goal line. They throw the interception, and the rest is history. It was after that Super Bowl. Me and my buddy Dave go out. We see this place, Hot and Juicy. What the heck's that? We look in, saw seafood. We're like, yeah, let's party. And I remember the beer they had as well was called Kilt Lifter. Kilt Lifter. They were delicious. And I realized later it was 9% alcohol. That was a fun night. Somebody had an early tea time at Papago Golf Club right by the airport in Arizona. Had myself a time. Anyway, thanks, Seamus Clancy. Appreciate it. Let me tell you about the great people there at Manscaped. Manscaped.com, where you can get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code FARZI at Manscaped.com. Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming, and you can get you can join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped when you manscape with confidence and comfort thanks to their skin-safe technology. Whether it's their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer or whether it's their lawnmower trimmer, they come with skin-safe technology so you can manscape without the risk of nicks and scratches. So there you go with Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, get 20% off with promo code FARZI and free shipping. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. They grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State. So there's all organic inputs and IPMs. There's nothing synthetic from farm to jar. You'll enjoy their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Generics of these guys are off the charts. So if you like CBD, if you're looking to try a different CBD, try Freestone Farm CBD, where you get 20% off with promo code FARZI. Also, they grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State, as I mentioned, and they do a phenomenal job of making sure that their product is natural, of this earth, organic, lovely. Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into our chat check. See you guys all conversing today. Kevin, good morning, Kevin. What's going on? Happy Wednesday. Nah, I'm not much of a Wednesday guy. Like, nobody says, the whole thing there, hey, you got a case of the Mondays. Hey, I'm a Wednesday. I got a case of the Wednesdays. Like, are you the beginning of the week or the end of the week? I know you're the middle of the week, but pick a side. Get over the hump day. Mihai, what's going on, Mihai? And everyone, business focused right now on how they got there. Love Sirianni's demeanor and leadership, zoning out the noise. You got to love it. April, good morning, April. Mihai Sanchez, I'll wait for Friday to say my score prediction. I'm really nervous since we haven't played a bad game yet this season. Yeah, it had bad turnovers, though, that Commanders game. Professor Dutch, what's going on? He won on the you won on the slots, did you? Good job. Birds win it all? I hope so. Let's see. April. Seafood in landlocked state, always a gamble. Rolling the dice. My cousins worked at a seafood place in Allentown. And I just remember always teasing them. The seafood capital of the world. And this is the Polish side of my family who has the roots in Baltimore. And Baltimore knows seafood, hon. Okay? And I used to go, Allentown, the seafood capital of the world. Yes, give me those oysters. I'll tell you right now, my cousin Will, he can shuck an oyster. Tell you that much. Delicious. Sounds like a good old seafood, but John Cheeseborough, what's going on? Yeah, exactly what it was. Good old is Sunday a must-win game stupidity. I saw that, John. I think it was Ross Tucker told the story. I read that. I think Crossing Broad printed it out. That he told the story of, it's a buddy of his from Pittsburgh that goes and asks that question every year. It's a great bit. I didn't know that, but that is a great bit. Great bit. Is this a must-win game? Love it. The question that Seamus pointed out, though, about which Eagle would you not want to date your daughter? I don't even know if that reporter knew. I don't even know if they knew if Nick Sirianni had a daughter. And I would imagine if they went into it with a bit and Nick Sirianni takes it seriously and goes, yeah, my daughter's 5. They probably went, go! Didn't even know he had a daughter. Which, if you did it, that's dumb. You're not doing any homework because he literally has his kids at his press conferences. Anyway. Saw the field for the Super Bowl. That made it feel real for me. Also, Sunday will be the last time we see the traditional Eagles word mark. Like it so much better than the current. Yeah, I don't like the current one either. And the word mark, by the way, had a profound impact on me, and I'll tell you why. I remember the year before the Eagles, going into the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I remember they traded away John Dornbos. And when that happened, I remember talking about, well, who's the long snapper going to be? And I remember thinking, wow, if I'm worried about the long snapper, we're set. This is going to be a good year. Well, I remember going into the season, we were worried about the word mark looking different. And I'm like, this is going to be a good year. If that's what we're concerned about, it's going to be a good year. Now, obviously, we had other things to be concerned about. Whether or not Jalen Hurts was the guy was probably the biggest one of them. But yeah, that field is awesome. I do love that stadium. I was there when it was University of Phoenix. Now it's State Farm. I love that field. I know people complain about it. I love it. Yes, John, the old word mark is still on the jerseys. Nike couldn't change it in time. April, you saw that as well. Fitting way for it to go out. You're damn right it is. That's pretty awesome. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Let's get into the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars. SkyMotorcars.com. In case you missed it, the Sixers play the Boston Celtics tonight, 7:30 start time for the Sixers. Sixers, of course, coming off another 21-point lead blown at the hands of the New York Knicks. But tonight, the Sixers are in Boston. They face a team in the Boston Celtics that they trail in the standings. Boston Celtics 38-16 on the season. These Sixers are 34-18 on the season. Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid both come into this game averaging over 30 points per game. Joel Embiid with a tip of the cap there with 33 to Jason's 30 on the dot almost. It's going to be a very tough matchup, a very tough test for the Sixers. I don't really like to buy in too much to teams that are coming off of tough losses. But when you look at the Sixers coming off the loss that they suffered to the Knicks and how they blew that game, I hope they come out and they take care of business tonight. The Celtics have, of course, given them trouble over the years, and it goes back generations to say that, Sixers and Celtics and all that. This is going to be a game I'll be on the edge of my seat for. If you were going to have a game during Super Bowl week, something to quench your thirst, this would be the game. Sixers trail the Boston Celtics by 3 games in the standings. Celtics with the number 1 spot. Then it's the Bucks that are 1 game behind them. Then the Sixers. Then the Cavs are 5 games out. Boston is coming into this game after a win over the Detroit Pistons. They were on the road against the Pistons, and they were able to come away with that victory. 2 nights ago. So it'll be the same amount of rest, at least, between these two teams. This is a game that if you're going to have during Super Bowl week, you want this game during Super Bowl week. You want a big game atmosphere. You want a big game vibe. This is the game that you want to see. Sixers, Celtics. I get up for this game more than any other game on the schedule. And hopefully the Sixers come out and take care of business tonight. And I think they will. There's my prediction. Sixers, 7:30 tonight against the Celtics. Can't wait for it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Appreciate you guys. If you want more of me, I'll be jumping on the Jacob Media YouTube channel, talking to my guys over there at Good Morning NFC East. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Jim Hyde improves the program. Did a wonderful job. It's so good to be home. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Go Sixers. Let's see how that game plays out. See you guys.